What if you want to make an app that is effectively a book, or you want to give the user a feeling of a magazine experience? Well, there's an app layout for that, and it's the page-based app. Every time you swipe the screen, we get a nice little page animation of moving to the next screen. Let's create one in Xamarin. Hit New Solution, Page-based app. Hit Next. I'll call this Dummy 4. And wait for it to be created. Open up main.storyboard. Whilst that's opening, I just want to talk about all of these items on the left-hand menu. As you get more and more familiar with iOS, you're going to start to notice what stands out when you create a new project. So we have Data View Controller that stands out, we have Model Controller, and we have Root View Controller that stands out. And between all of the different app types that we have played with, you'll notice that these are a little bit different. These are by no means set. You can change these names to anything you like, but the design patterns are more or less set in stone. Okay, this is our main storyboard. And first things first, we have this Root View Controller that has a rather lovely brown background. If we zoom out, there is one more view controller called a Data View Controller on the right hand side. And if I go over to the Properties Inspector and I just remove this Data View Controller, you'll notice it has a class of Data View Controller. So I'll just put that one back in there. So how is this controller connected to the Data View Controller? Well, the first place to look is at the Root View Controller, because this is the first entry into our application. So let's open it up. Let me make a little bit of space. And up at the top, we have a couple of class level variables. One is a model controller and one is a page view controller. Now if we scroll down, inside of our view.did.load, the page view controller is instantiated. And this takes the standard page view controller, gives it a transition style. So this is the curling page effect. We have other ones like scroll. We can set some orientations for navigation. So a horizontal one is like a magazine scrolling. And wherever the spine of the magazine is. And we can have this maximum, we can have it at mid, so split the screen in half, or minimum like it was. Right, then we're defining a starting view controller. And this goes to this model controller class. So let's open up that model controller class. And then it requests a view controller. So get view controller is here. And this grabs our data view controller from our storyboard and populates it with some data. And I'll just talk a bit here about how you grab something from a storyboard. First you cast it to the type that it is. Then you grab the storyboard and you instantiate it by its ID. So if I just remove this bracket, it asks for the identifier. And of course, inside of storyboard, if I click my data view controller, there is my storyboard ID. And that's a common error that happens to a lot of people, is they forget to set this ID, they try to access it later on, and we get a crash. Okay, inside of our root view controller, let's keep going down this list. We have a starting view controller that grabs our view controller from the storyboard. Then it sets an array of view controllers with only our starting view controller in it. Then it sets our page view controller with our set view controllers. So this gives us an array of these view controllers that are effectively the pages of our magazine. Then the most important part here is we add this subview of our page view controller into our view. Now let me just hit play on our iPhone 5 because there's a lot going on here, and I apologize if it's not quite clear, but when we see it actually running, it will become a lot clearer. So we have our background view, and then it's loading this page view controller on top of that, and then inside of the page view controller we have these data views. So these data views, I can scroll and swipe them across like so. And you'll notice the month is changing at the top. So there's a little hierarchy going on in here. The root view controller to the page view controller to the actual data view controller. And at first glance, this isn't obvious when you just open up your main storyboard. Okay, that covers the basic page view controller. And it's quite an uncommon sort of controller. It's pretty rare that you will use it as a developer, but I've covered it here in short, so you have a good understanding of what it is.